Good morning to you all. You are once again welcome to the Aspire program. We are once again welcome to the Aspire program by the Farm Alert organization. I am by name Dr. Amina Garba, a graduate of Usman Danfodio University, Farm Alert Outlier. I'm here together with Dr. SANI, BELLO, the DVS of Niger State, on the topic of challenges. We are going to discuss the practical solutions to challenges in the real world after veterinary school. I hope you are going to enjoy this show. We want you to aspire to acquire what you desire. Dr. Sani, please can you give us a brief introduction before you start your program?
Okay, I am Dr. Sani Bello. I prefer my names coming with the surname first, which is Sani. So I'm Dr. Sani Bello. I'm the DVS Veterinary Services, Niger State, Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries. Like you said, you are a graduate of Sokoto. I happen to be a graduate of ABU. And I have a PhD in veterinary public health and preventive medicine from the same university. I think that's okay for a short introduction.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
Very much. I can.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We are going to wait for participants. When we have a large number or a minimal number of participants, then we'll start the program since it is solely for them.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for joining us. I hope the number will increase the more we start the program. Thank you. Dr. Sani Mabello, please, you can start.
Okay. The topic is apt quite well because in Niger State here, we have a lot of veterinary graduates that are just trying to make ends meet. And on Thursdays, normally we hold our weekly clinical conferences, and a lot of them participate. So, and you realize a lot of them are just managing and patching up. And it's so discouraging now in this kind of climate where you see students from veterinary colleges patching up, trying to meet up when you compare them to their medical counterparts. But at the same time, it is worthy of note for us to understand that this problem is pervasive of unemployment, and youth unemployment is pervasive all over the world. You realize that not only in Nigeria, but in a lot of African countries, sub-Saharan Africa especially, this problem we're witnessing in this country is there. And it didn't start now. I was also unemployed, doing odd jobs, selling cattle and other things before I got employed. I finished university at the age of 23. I got employed at age 25, 28. And sadly enough, unlike you have in most developing countries, 80% only about 20% of veterinarians, want to go into government public service. Majority of them on private side because it is more lucrative, it is more rewardful, and it's more adventurous. Like you see yourself, if you are accustomed to watching Dr. Paul on Niger Wild, or if you're accustomed to watching the other lady that's a wildlife vet, you realize there isn't much when it comes to government services. But let's start with the question, what are the challenges experienced by veterinary graduates in Nigeria? I think that is the theme of the topic. I want you to cast your mind back that in 2022, the current NVMA president, Dr. Twain Adetuberu, said that there are about 9,000 veterinary doctors in Nigeria now, as at 2022. So presumably by now, we should have at least about 10,000 of them registered vets by the VCN. And she pointed out in 2022 that only 5% of vets are in government service. And of this 5%, the 5% figure is not well spread out, because when you look at it, there's a problem with the statistics. It didn't tell us the spread of vets across states in the country. There are some states in this part of in this country whereby you have only 2 vets in government service. It's a place like Rivers and so most of the south eastern parts of the country. The problem is pervasive, but in that instance, it also created opportunities for vets to go into private practice. So when you compare, like I said earlier, what is the percentage of government vets in developed economies? The findings I've got from Googling tells me that they are about just 20%. In some instances, it's not even up to that. And like in the UK, the system is such that the vets and even medical colleagues, are employed under the control of private organizations. Like you have this HMOs for National Health Insurance Scheme. So those companies, let you out to government offer services. We don't have such kind of things in Nigeria. So going forward, you ask, what are the practical challenges faced by by the veterinary profession in Nigeria in general? You realize there is a low level of public awareness on the role of the veterinarian as a bridge in public health, food safety, and food security of the nation. There is also difficulty. There is also difficulty in securing meaningful employment after graduation. Inability to secure meaningful employment after graduation leads to depreciation of professional capacity in knowledge gotten from the university. And then you realize, okay, despite this, what are the strengths of veterinary doctors in the country, in the in the in the workforce of Nigeria? I mean, what role do they play? What is their importance there? We realize there are a lot of job opportunities for graduates. In an ideal situation, they are supposed to have opportunities in private practice, research, diagnostics, public health, education, and animal health and production consultancies. All these are lacking. Like I said earlier, inability to get a job or to have yourself engage in meaningful practice will lead to professional incapacity and professional redundancy. You may term this as disuse atrophy because you're not in tune with what is happening. So in profiling solutions, we need to do, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, you need to do a needs analysis. A needs analysis will give you an insight into the practical problems you have on ground in the country. But I want to share with you what I perceive the common threats to the profession, vis-a-vis as it affects animal health status. You find out that there's little or no understanding among institutions and the public as to those challenges and threats facing the veterinary profession generally. So this creates apathy within the system, in the public eye and in the government cycle. And then at the same time, there is imminent lack of incentives and motivation resulting from ignorance and cultural attitude of the populace. Because a lot of people in this country believe that when animals are ill or are sick, the best thing for you to do is, if they are livestock, is for you to slaughter them. But you realize there's a study I carried out recently. I served questionnaires to some of some vets, young vets, not on government service. And reassuringly, one of them told me that, look, things are changing because the value of livestock, for example, now has now increased. There's more value placed to sheep. There's more value placed to goats, whereby they run in the thousands, 10, 20,000, 30,000 naira for average size animals. Most people now don't slaughter the animals if they are sick. They bring them to the vets, for health checks and treatments. So already there's, a change in the tide of attitude people have towards animal health, whereby in the past it's believed that if animals are sick, just slaughter them and the problem is solved, and you save your money and you save your time. So let's talk about profiling solutions, the way forward. For us to chart a path of progress in solving this problem we have in this country, we must do a needs analysis, a needs assessment on the role of the veterinarian to the economy of the nation as an insurer of rural and urban livelihoods, among others. Because if you don't, even if you feel you are important and the people that will patronize you, that you work with, feel you are not important to them, I mean, you still have a long way to convince them that uh, that they are relevant to their livelihoods and to their system. Like I said earlier, in the past, people when the animals are sick, especially small ruminants, the next thing they do is to slaughter them. Now they don't want to do that again because the value of these animals has increased, and standard of living has also plummeted in this country. So you want to have a reserve, a kind of bank, poor man's bank that they call it, small ruminants, in case things, in case of financial uncertainties in the past. So if you have these animals at home, not slaughtered, not killed, not gone to disease, dead as a result of diseases, then you have a chance of maybe solving one or two problems that will come up. Then we need to do a need analysis which will focus on the role and relevance of the profession to the economy and public interest of the services. And then the needs analysis was going to give us we will address the existential dilemma of the veterinary workforce and its defined role in the economic growth of the nation. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because when you take example of countries like Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, and those other countries that rely on foreign exchange from animals, live animals sold, and animal products, sold to the international community, you realize that the vet there is very important to the survival of that business and to the GDP of that country that we're talking about. So these practical questions must be thematically defined and solved in order to address the challenges we want to provide solutions to. Hence, this includes us appreciating and knowing from the needs analysis what is the level of interest and appreciation of the profession to the social and economic development of the country. We need to factor this into our solution finding to the challenges. And the needs analysis will tell us what the attitudes and perceptions of stakeholders are towards us. It will also inform us on what stakeholders need and the expectations in terms of service delivery that they want. And at the end of the day, most important thing, there are two important factors when you do needs analysis. It talks about influence and relevance. What is the influence of the veterinarian in the society or in government or in the political sphere? And what is the power and authority that he wields, in this sphere? Because it's stakeholders, when you talk about stakeholders, the business of the veterinarian revolves around stakeholders. Your stakeholders could be clients, their clientele, small animal clients, large animal clients, pastoralists, and co. And then government itself, like you can see what's happening now with VetAC. This is an entrepreneurial company that has come up in the country and is addressing the problem of disease surveillance monitoring and reporting. And you can see with their ingenuity and breakthrough in developing that particular apps, they've gone forward. Recently, I believe all states in this country, over 774 local governments were giving Android phones, two per local government. So you can say a problem has been created in that sphere of disease surveillance and disease reporting and disease mitigation, and trying to meet up with the FAO strategy of early detection and early mitigation. So all these are very important. So when you know why I'm talking about relevance and influence, it is everybody knows in this country quite well that you can't go on strike as vets because the society, the system does not see you as relevant to them until we'll address this issue of relevance. Then we'll come to have the influence that our professional colleagues in the medics have in this country. As long as that is not addressed, I'm telling you, we still have a long way to go in addressing the challenges faced by veterinary graduates and even us older vets that have been in the system too, whereby people look at you without much relevance and respect in some instances, only when they rub minds with you and discover that, yes, you have a knowledge base that people can tap into, that government that can benefit from. So after this needs analysis, we can now talk about concrete steps to solution finding. In addressing concrete steps to solution finding, it's all about, like I said earlier, understanding the relevance and influence of veterinary professionals, to be appreciated. If they understand your relevance and influence, you'll be appreciated, you'll be sought after. Only You only be sought after if they can make tangible assessment based impact on the nation's economy and its attended growth indices. That's the GDP. Like I said, in countries like Botswana, like we all know, South Africa, in Africa, you know, because the government, the system knows of the relevance of the profession in terms of export of meat and live animals, then a lot of attention is given to them, a lot of relevance, a lot of influence. The profession wields a lot of influence in those atmosphere. So to come to think of it, youth unemployment, while ubiquitous all over the world, quite well in Nigeria, is very serious. Nonetheless, the employment and engagement of veterinary doctors can be influenced by various factors within the nation's economy, generally speaking. But holistically, addressing these challenges faced by veterinary graduates and the professionals at large in Nigeria requires multifaceted approach that involves political, economic, social outreach to find lasting solutions. So we'll start with political engagement. As we know in this country, everything in Nigeria is politics, and the world over too. Even in developed economies like America and Western Europe, you have to get your lobby perfect, your influence in government also, has to be strong for you to have any headway in the system, for you to be recognized and for you to be accorded your due share of the economy. You just have to lobby. You know, Everybody knows how powerful the Israeli lobby group is in America. Everybody knows how powerful the Saudi lobby group is in America and Western Europe. All has to do with politics. And for Nigeria, I believe we'll have to start with the main drivers. The main drivers of this political engagement should be the NVMA, the Veterinary Council of Nigeria, stakeholders in the agro-veterinary business environment, NGOs, and international organizations like the FAO, World Animal Health Organization, and World Health Organization too, in terms of zoonosis. The emphasis on lobbying should be directed at one, to secure funds to improve veterinary infrastructure, which is seriously lacking and backwards in this country, and private partnership investments in livestock production and health. You know, to emphasis on lobbying should also be directed at regulatory reforms and implementation of those reforms after, from favorable bills being passed at the National Assembly and state assemblies, to have access to credit financing on health, animal enterprises, and production by young vets and also older vets that want to retire. and to have access to international markets for enhancement of value chain economics. The story goes in this country that some years back, some fish farmers wanted to export fish to Western Europe, and at the gates, at the bo- at the quarantine section there, in those countries, those things were disqualified because of the high level of antibiotics and heavy metals that were discovered after laboratory diagnosis. And most importantly, there was no veterinary certification by the veterinary authority that the fish they're exporting is fit for human consumption. So you see where access to international markets for enhancement of value chain economics has to do with the vets in terms of animal products and animals themselves. Then there should the lobby, the NMA VCN lobby should emphasize more when lobbying for government to implement public awareness campaigns to educate farmers and the general public about the importance of veterinary care. You hear all these jingles and see all these short adverts in the public and in the media in this country, on the radio, like in Mina here, and on FM radios in Mina here. Once in a while, you hear jingles talking about diphtheria in humans, talking about polio. We need to have things like that going for us too in the veterinary sector, for the public to get to know, okay, who we are, what we can do, and what we can contribute to the society, to public health, and then to the economy of the nation. So, and by so doing, this political engagement will give us more relevance in the eye of government, in the corridors of power, and in the mind of the public too. Then B, the success of this political engagement will translate into economic and social pathways for vets to be employed, to be engaged either in the public sphere or in the private sphere. Then successful political engagement will create opportunities for the veterinary profession and secure better and assured livelihoods for them. Some of the key drivers of engagement and reliance on veterinary professionals that will address their employment challenges include the following. One, government policies and regulations have to be addressed. The regulatory environment, including policies related to animal health and welfare, can influence the demand for veterinary services. So compliance and implementation of these regulations often require the expertise of veterinary professionals, especially those that specialize in a narrow window, even if it's a diploma in legal studies. Like you have 2 or 3 in this country now that have assisted the Department of Veterinary and Pest Control Services in Abuja in revising the laws that we've had so long. The revised new veterinary Animal Disease Act 2022, the veterinary practicing premises registration regulation of 2018-2019. That's all that we're talking about. So the implementation of these veterinary laws have to be done by veterinarians. So, and the more veterinarians you have in service, the more we'll achieve sanity in terms of veterinary practice itself. Then the trickle-down effect of political engagement will also lead to a boost of opportunities in livestock production and poultry production, as veterinary doctors play a very crucial role in ensuring the well-being of livestock and poultry, which is essential for the growth of the economy and for livelihood upward mobility by those producing them. Then we also have, vets are also relevant. Veterinary doctors are essential for disease control, prevention, and management, especially in cases of outbreaks will affect both animal and human health. Here we'll have to partner with this is talking about the One Health movement, where we'll have to partner with the medical colleagues, laboratory people, and people in the environment. So in disease control and prevention, These are also areas where when if we're able to get our acts right in the political engagement, there are more opportunities to be greater for us in these spheres too. Then in areas of food safety and public health, which is very important, like I mentioned earlier, this issue, the issue of fish not being able to not for fish farmers not being able to export fish out of the country because of lack of veterinary certification, comes to play here. Because veterinary doctors play a very crucial role in ensuring the safety of the food supply to monitoring and addressing issues related to foodborne illnesses. This is particularly important for maintaining public health and meeting international food safety standards, like we have seen in the case of anthrax that happened recently. There was a collaboration between the human and veterinary counterparts all over the country. And the outbreak, like you know quite well, started in Niger State. And that's how it was addressed. Then also part of the trickle down effect, if uh, if we get our acts right and effective in political engagement, will lead to globalization and trade. Like we all know now, the world is a global village. That's the balance, and that's what it is. So, in a global village, you stand benefit more. And the problem in this country now we're having, like we all know, the value of the naira is plummeting. The value of the dollar is on the rise against the naira, and we know quite well the side talk is removal of subsidy, but the real fact, the truth, the reality in addressing this problem is that we'll have to create avenues, we'll have to create ventures whereby the country stands to earn a lot of foreign exchange, to mitigate the scarcity of foreign exchange that we're experiencing and that is impacting on all livelihoods. So if with globalization and trade and agricultural products and animals can lead to increased demand for veterinary services, definitely, because it has to be geometric. And then there is also increase in the people, especially in urban areas and cosmopolitan settings, people owning pets. So the more pets people keep, the more there is going to be a growing need for veterinary care for routine checkups, vaccinations, and treatment of illnesses. And that will create more opportunities and more avenues for vets to progress and be fully and gainfully engaged. So, in conclusion, the challenges we have talked about is can be solved if there's going to be a needs analysis and seriously, if there's going to be a serious, a meaningful, well-channeled political engagement, in the corridors of power. If that is not done quite well, we're going to be in square one like we have always been in this country. So we'll have to appreciate the fact that these sectors can fortify educational institutions and then getting our acts right through political lobbying will assist healthcare providers anticipate and respond to changes in the demand for veterinary services within a nation's economy. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sani Bello Umar. I would like to
Thank you.
engage you in some questions that I've prepared before the
Okay.
participants drop in theirs. Sir,
Okay.
based on your experience so far, do you think the curriculum in our veterinary school is actually enough for a graduate to survive out of vet school? That is it equipped with enough skills required to strive outside? Is there need for any added curriculum which will specially be based on training students on how to survive outside vet? Like there are some universities, you see, like in my university, Usman Danfodio University, it's only during project that we'll be taught on how to do, like it's just project, but I've interacted with some uni Ilori students. They are taught on how to prepare a research on their own. You must even be able to bring out a bulletin, like you have a research on paper before you graduate. And with that, I think wherever you go, you'll be able to engage in any research that comes your way. Do you think other
Okay.
universities should also engage their students in that?
Like to me, that is too narrow, because, like I said earlier, there are so many opportunities for the veterinary field in an ideal environment. Like we mentioned research and diagnostics, we mentioned private practice, we mentioned um, ambulatory services, we mentioned consultancies, you know. So, and even now, even in this country, you find vets working in the banks. Like in one of the congresses that was held in Kogi State in Lokoja, quite well. One of the movers of that congress was the MD of First Bank, who happened to be a vet. So, by what I will advocate to be added to the curriculum, in the first place, as far as I'm concerned, the curriculum is a bit old and outdated. When you see what Dr. Paul can do on Niger, while when you see what that lady can do, and if you go on YouTube, and read online how extensive, how deep the profession has gone now, you realize we're still running on the maybe let's say 80 curriculums in the veterinary practice, in the world. No veterinary graduate in this country can go outside this country without writing a professional exam, before securing a job. In the backwaters here in South Africa, the University of Pretoria, we had some of our colleagues that left, Dr. Francis, Dr. Agatha, and Dr. Liman, currently that's there now. They will tell you the level of professionalism and expertise in those particular areas and specialization. You don't have it in our Nigerian universities, and these are for undergraduate students, trying to become veterinarians. So, and I beat my chest, and I will I will want to place a bet on any graduate from the veterinary schools as it is now in this country that can move easily to the UK or to America to practice on one sitting, writing one exams. It's quite difficult because their instrumentation alone is enough headache for you. You'll have to spend a year to do instrumentation. So the challenge is really in terms of curriculum in the universities, to me, that are a bit outdated. But I will not fault the university because everything has to do with funding. Recently, Niger State government wants to partner with the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal uh, Committee of the country, and they came on visit to the state, and they realized that you can't go into production quite well without having a perfect health system, because we're talking about grants coming to the state in tens of billions, not small money. And here you have in the clinic alone, if you want to buy a mobile standard, average standard X-ray machine now, if you go online, you find it's about between 40 to 60 million naira. And this equipment is no more than an armchair in size. So when you look at, there are a lot of challenges when it comes to education and updating our knowledge. Then I believe one thing that is not taught in the veterinary school, like a school like FUT, Mina, that I know of is doing, is have entrepreneurial courses in entrepreneurship, how to do business, outside or within the vet sphere, how to relate with clients. I had a friend, one of my colleagues, sorry, in Kaduna, when he was into serious private practice. He wasn't in private practice treating animals and doing ambulatories. He was more of a consultant to farms. If you want to set up a farm, you consult him. He gives you advice on how to go about it. And he does not stay on your farm as a consultant for more than 6 months after setting up the farm. The moment your boss start laying, you pay him as at 2010 and 2011 when he showed me a paycheck. It was in the tune of 1.3 million naira. There was a farm he opened for a retired general, and his consultancy fee alone was 3 million naira. That was in 2010, 2012. So imagine what that amount is now. And people were willing to pay him because of his expertise. So we'll have to update our knowledge really. And we'll have to do so many things too. And like, but sadly, to me, with this present situation you have in this country, where you have this economic inertia in Nigeria, because of the removal of subsidy and because of the flight of the naira over the dollar, is becoming more and more tasking, more and more difficult for people to really set up, even in the private sector. Because my interaction with colleagues, with young colleagues that are into private practice, trying to make ends meet, you know, told me that, informed me of the situation they are facing, of the challenges they are facing now. It's really very serious.
Okay, thank you.
So I
We
think I've
have a
addressed your
question
question.
from the
Hmm.
CEO of Farmalat, Dr. Kayode.
Okay.
He said,
Okay.
"What do you think are the most critical skills a vet student need to have to survive in these harsh after-school realities?" The most
Skills.
critical skills. Yes.
Well, the most critical well, he has to, he has to, the vet, the nature of the vet, the trainer of the vet is versatility. You have to versatile. Why am I saying so? Why am I saying this? We'll have to venture out, like I mentioned vet arc the other time. It doesn't have to be the canonical things that I taught in school, that you'll have to go out and practice. Even your MD talking now did not work on those things that he was taught on strictly in school. He opened up. He's now into communication and partnering with people, with other groups, to project the image of vets in this Farmalat program that I'm on now. So the critical skills that you really need, as far as I can see, and from the organization too, is to develop yourself and to develop your inner skills that you feel you don't have. But most of the times, among entrepreneurs, you realize quite well these skills just don't come like that. They are not accidental. They do more with intuition, a self belief that you have in yourself, and a belief in the ability that you succeed. My classmate in ABU, Dr. Ayeniwa, he was my classmate, he was my roommate. And when he finished vet, and incidentally he happens to have a UK citizenship, son,
So,
because he was born in the UK. He went back to the UK. He's now a computer IT expert, totally away from vet. But when I asked the last time we spoke about a month back, he told me that I asked him, Adi, how how has vet, your vet school helped you in moving forward? He said, of course, the diagnostic ability that you have as a vet, the critique you have when you handle cases, differential diagnosis and co, has helped him a lot in moving forward in his new
yeah.
profession now as an IT guy. He works with Leeds University as a lecturer there, and he also has his own private practice. So you can see the skills, and then your intuition, your ability to be daring and go out there and do things that people have not done before, like Farmalat has done and is doing, are some of the things that you can do that will ensure your survival outside the vet school.
Okay. And this will draw me to this question of internship. What's your view and take? Just like you said in the UK, a lot of young or undergraduate vets are very equipped. I believe that's from the internship that they do undergo during their course of running the veterinary school curriculum. Do you think that should also be included in our Nigerian veterinary schools? Because I believe with internship, if a student engage thoroughly in internship, wherever he finds himself, he'll be able to stand up and build up on his own without waiting or solely relying on the government,
Well, you have answered part
but
of the
or
question.
his senior professional. Also mentorship.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
take on internship and mentorship.
you answered part of the question yourself. There is no magic about internship because it's applicable in the medical field. And in the medical field, you'll realize in some parts of this country, you have a lot of medical doctors that you put on the same plane with vets. Some time back in Niger State here, that maybe you underestimate. There happens to be a guy that finished from one of these foreign universities. I think he went to Georgia to study medicine. And he came back to Niger, there was no job for him because Niger state government does not even employ people. And, stopped employment a long time ago of medical doctors. So, but what internship does to you really, it prepares you if you have all the wherewithal, that's the equipment, the knowledge and technology, for you to be at par with your international colleagues. Like, in this country now, there is talk of brain drain and outward mobility of medical doctors out of the country and nurses. You don't hear of such in the veterinary field. Why? Because of this incapacity that we have talked about. So if there were internship programs is a bridge between you and the real world. And in Nigeria, why I believe we don't have this internship compared to developed countries, the law of tort, there's law of negligence in the veterinary field in Nigeria. You even have it in the human field too, because people die in this country and it's attributed strictly to God, which all know, of course, is all our destiny. But when animals die, it's not attributed to God, it's attributed to your failure as a professional. So with internship, as far as I see it, within my limited vision, I believe internship will prepare you to gearing up and measuring up to your international colleagues and even giving you opportunities and avenues to compete favorably outside this country and maybe make us proud in places like the UAE, the Saudi Arabia, and Western Europe too, whereby let's hope in the next 10 years or 5 years, we hear brain drain of veterinary doctors. Maybe if that happens or if that is happening, it will draw the government attention to really do something like they're trying to do now in the medical field. But I see it, you know, in those countries, in developed countries, and in countries that are coming up, entrepreneurship, like I said earlier, is encouraged. I don't know how Farmalat started, but I know for it to open up a business in Nigeria now, veterinary business, even one like Farmalat, when you are using spaces like this, internet spaces like this, of course, there are token charges that the facilitator will demand from you. So, and you need to set up, you need to have a space, a physical space whereby which you call an office. You need to talk about logistics if you are into maybe transporting goods or selling them. And then you need to talk about wages that you're going to pay your staff. I mean, for a fresh graduate, how are you going to get access to these sources? In countries whereby the politics, like I said earlier, the political arrangement engagement is perfect, is good. There are provisions whereby you have access to funds to start up, and there are linkages because there are established farms and businesses that are into livestock and other activities to do with animal health and animal production that they can queue into, unlike you have in Nigeria. So the clientele there is wide. There's a wider outreach compared to what you have in this country. So with little funding, I know of young vets in Niger State here in Mina that wanted to go into poultry production, wanted to go into fish production, and wanted to go into livestock production, and even marketing of value chain products, but they have been impeded due to access to funds. I know of vets that are on the verge of retirement, just looking for, let's say, 10, 20 million naira to start up something. And with the expertise, which of course they will not buy because they're already professionals, if they had access to these monies, honestly, it would have been a different story. They were able to employ others too that are inspiring, and they'll be able to mentor people better because they know the business, but they don't have the access to cash. So you can imagine somebody like the platform you are using now. We all use WhatsApp, we all use Google, we all use what's the other one? Facebook. But do you know how this thing started?
Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, they were just entrepreneurs in the university. Most of them were PhD students in Stanford University, and they came up with this idea in their projects. So most of them dropped out. And what happened? How did they grow to this level that you and I are now enjoying? Because there you have venture capitalists, people that have enough money to you sell your ideas to them, you sell your programs to them, and then you sponsor it. The people that started Twitter, the guys that started Twitter, the Stanford graduates, they had already gotten the app and everything, but they didn't have the money to start. They went to somebody like Prince Talal, who happens to be one of their main financiers. He's a Saudi prince, and he gave them a lot of money. And they told him, "You won't make any profit now till in the next 10 years." You don't have such people that are there in Nigeria to do that for you. I know a lot of vets in the ministry, in private practice, that have a lot of ideas on paper, but something to kickstart it, money to run it, to fund it, to put into life is lacking. So not only mentorship, not only this, funding is also very important. So vets have to go into the political space in this country and then find pathways of accessing funds like they did for Refund. Refund, that organization that mopped up all the money and did
Yes,
nothing in
yes,
this country. It's
yes.
over how many trillion naira? 2 billion came to Niger State where we didn't see rise. So if 62 billion had got it into the NVMA or into the vet organizations, don't you think there will be a turnaround impact on employment and engagement of vets in the country? So those are the things that we need to do.
Um, then we can, even at our own level, I believe we can start maybe the NVMA, since we do pay due. Maybe they should be a way that due compulsion payment or tracking of vet to pay due, so that with the due there can be a limit of maybe a certain amount of loan that can be given to anyone that brings his business proposal, and given a time frame to pay it back, whether an interest or non-interest loan. I believe we have organizations that we do pay dues yearly, or so even the VCN, your registration of your license and everything every year. Maybe they should set up a certain amount of money that when you bring in your business proposal and they see it's worth it and it will be profitable, then you should be given a limit of time to pay in that amount that is lended to you.
No,
Don't you think this should be a nice initiative that
well,
should be
it, it,
adopted
it will have
before
it
the
will have been a
government?
nice. Yes, it will have been a nice idea, but that one will not take you anywhere because I know even in Niger State, private vets don't pay anything. And secondly, even the vets in public service that pay, they are kind of forced to pay because the deduction is from source. But the reality is that we have to go beyond this bread and butter approaches to these problems. If you really want to break out, if you really want to have a solution like you aptly captured in this practical, you say practical solutions, that is impractical as far as I'm concerned because even the VCN, what you pay VCN is just 10,000 naira per annum. 10,000 naira, that's less than 800 naira per month or so, you know. So, but when you compare what lawyers pay with organizations, I have lawyer colleagues here in the Ministry of Justice. For you to go on MBA conference alone, you need about 300,000 naira to go to MBA conference just to attend the conference. You know what they pay in terms of dues, and something that you must pay. Go to the VCN now, go to the NVMA. How many people pay dues? So we have to go beyond that really. The money that we need now are the kind of monies that will propel us in the political corridor. I mean, why do people join politics in this country? For them to have a fast rise, maybe personally for themselves in most cases, like you have in Nigeria, sadly, and but for a profession like vet or the professionals, we should go beyond that. We should do better. Honestly, this butter and bread approach that you're talking about will not work. It will not take you anywhere in terms of livelihood, in trying to measure up and survive in this the harsh reality you have in Nigeria now. So the kind of monies you are talking about, if it's really going to get to the NVMA, I think what the NVMA should do, like I said earlier in the political engagement that I discussed with you on this platform, the political engagement has to do with money. Ask anybody anywhere in the world. Go and read books. You'll find out lobbying costs you a lot of money, even in developed countries. Lobbying is not corruption, like you know. These are opportunities, pathways created by people in government, by politicians, so that you have easy access to what you have, to what you want. Sorry. So if I have a very powerful lobby, and having a very powerful lobby, there are professional lobbyists quite well. There are people of influence that you get to know, like in Niger State, when the late Sefi Danupe, the late Professor Bidda was alive, it was easy for vets in Niger State to get anything that they wanted from government. So that is an example of somebody in the corridor of power who happens to have your profession at heart. It doesn't have to be a vet. Like if you go behind the scene and ask older colleagues in Abuja how the new veterinary animal disease control act came into being, and other reviews that they have in the pipeline, the National Assembly. Really, it costs you a lot of money, it costs you a lot of time, and it costs you a lot of diplomacy for you to do that. So if you can catch the big fish, it's better than going and relying on these tiny fingerlings that will that we feel is going to end our hunger. It will not. We need something bigger, really. They said start small and think big. Start small, think big. But we have been starting small in the last 50 years in this country as vets. So I will been thinking big. Now we have got to a point whereby psychologically we are beaten. Even when you stand with your colleagues, medical colleagues. I mean, at times if you don't have that level of confidence like you have, like people like Tumsia have, we feel little, you know, amongst them. But you can see with the outreach that you have in fellowship now, there's that professional respect and mutual understanding of the importance of the vet in the circle of public health and in the circle of health provision in the country generally. So we have to go beyond that level of that local level of fees and use. Really, we have to move beyond that now.
Yes, sir. I believe so. Sir, what do you think about increment of manpower? Like you see, for instance, in our state, Niger State, currently, I
Hmm.
think apart from our Niger State Veterinary Clinic in Boso,
Hmm.
I don't think I can boast of any other establishment still running. Do you believe the government it's okay for us to also advocate for the government to at least renovate those that have been in existence in other local governments or build up another new ones, because with that we'll have increments in manpower. With that they'll be able to employ, because it's been long. I think the last employment was in which year, I can't even remember. Was it 2018 or before that? And I believe it's due to the lack of place to recruit, because even if they employ us, we have limited number of establishments that are running. So in every other state apart from Niger State, if we have people that can push into the government to at least invest by building or renovating the already established um, clinics.
Okay. When you talk about, there's what we call cosmetics. So as far as I'm concerned, renovation are cosmetics. And cosmetics, cosmetics even amongst, let's say actors and young, beautiful women like you, eventually fades. So we have to, for government, and let me tell you, in Nigeria, government doesn't care about all this analysis. They are not Government in Nigeria is not so analytical. Because why am I saying this? If government were analytical in this country, in all spheres, human, animal, finance, and whatever, you realize quite well the analysis that's why I was talking about the needs assessment in the presentation I make. If you have a needs assessment, it will tell you what you need to do and what you need to have and what investments you need to put in place. Imagine now the population projection based on the RIMS report of 1991 that I have for Niger State. The population now projection, despite the banditry and whatever, should be cattle population Niger should be about 2.8 million now. Cattle population worldwide, sorry, in Nigeria now, if you go, there's a World Bank data site. I've forgotten the site now, but I can give you a reference later. The population of cattle in Nigeria is estimated to be 21 million now. So
Oh,
let's say in Niger State you have a population of 2.8 million. The the consultants, that's the most senior vets in Niger State or in other parts of the country, don't earn beyond a million naira. Maybe they earn close to a million naira, but they earn six-figure digits. Let's put it that way, or five-figure digits, and let's say 500,000, 800,000 naira. So, and that's what you earn in a month. So, at the end of the year, what you are entitled to as salary is 12 million naira. Let's say if your salary were what to be, well, let's say if your salary was 1 million naira per month. So at the end of the year, you've
per
earned
month.
12 million naira. Is that not so? So with a population of 2.8 million
Yeah.
cattle, so your salary of 1 million per month, sorry, of 1 million per month, if you can treat 1,000 cattle per per month at 1,000 naira, you are making more money than the person that has been in
Yes.
service the last 20 years is going to make. So when I did the calculation, really, with private practice alone and earning 1 million naira per month, from private practice by attending to 1,000 cattle at 1,000 naira per cattle in terms of your treatment fees, forget about the drugs. That's what you have gained at the end of the day. That's your income, your final income, not your turnover. And you gain 1,000 naira times 12,000 cattle. You know what you stand to make in a year. So here we're talking about 1,000 naira plus 1,000 cattle, 1 million naira in short. Factor it. Niger State government, in Niger State, the sphere alone, the private sphere alone can have 233 vets working comfortably. That's just on cattle. I'm not talking about sheep and goats. I'm not talking about poultry. I didn't even factor in
Culture.
yeah,
Fish.
other animals. Maybe you are into fish, medicine, uncle. No, I didn't even factor that. So there are a lot of opportunities. But if you want an answer to do with government employment, quite well, government is supposed to employ more people. I know at the ministry level, we have written severally since Talbot's time. That was in the last 8 years. We've written 2 or 3 letters that we need at least on the average 2 veterinary doctors per local government in the state. When you talk of infrastructure, it's one of the challenges that Dr. Adebiru, the FDME president, mentioned in that report. You can find it online in one of the dailies online, that where she mentioned this 9,000 vet population in the country. Infrastructure decay is one of the big problems all over the country, not only in Niger States. Few states have
Yes.
gotten it right, like Sokoto, like Borno State. So,
KB.
and KB. So when you look at it, like for Niger alone, if you factor in health provision to animals, to trade cattle alone, those are animals you buy, cattle you buy in the market and whatever. On the average, when we did the calculation here, on rough census, we realize about over 25,000 cattle are being sold in Niger State on a weekly basis. That considering those markets that operate on weekly basis, some markets operate every 4 days. That's what they operate on. And do you know what the turnover of that is? It's to the tune of about 7.9 billion naira. So if you as a vet, as a vet population of let's say 200 in the state is taking some percentage of that, let's say 10 or 5% of 7.9 billion, you know what that translates into. So we've not sat down to really do a lot of calculations and then to find a pathway of reaching out to stakeholders, because you realize most of the emphasis I made in my presentation has to do with stakeholders. And
Yeah.
stakeholders are people like Mieti Allah, people like the Butchers Association, people like the Fish Farmers Association of the country. And if you don't rub minds with those people, if you don't interact with them, because they need you and you need them too, for your income. Like I just cited the refund now. Look at what they did in refund. They did nothing in refund, we know, in Nigeria. Apart from the awareness that was created by the government and people on their own, without, because this money given to refund did not reach people. The money, so over trillions of naira given by the federal government, did not get to the grassroots farmers to go into serious rice production. But they saw the opportunity. The government is interested more in rice production now, and people ventured on their own to do rice production. So can you imagine that kind of money being invested in the veterinary cycle? And the absence of infrastructure, that's like you have mentioned in Niger State and other parts of the country, has a lot of drawback on practice. Why is this so? Because you need a sphere, an atmosphere, and an environment for you to collect data, collate it, analyze it, and then disseminate it. You need a center whereby you have to prepare if there are emergencies for you to respond immediately. You need a takeoff point. So these clinics that you are seeing are not only clinics, they're administrative centers too. They used to be in the past,
Yes.
really. So if all these things are in place, really, and they also advertise you. If you go to Borgu local government now, the clinic in New Busa, if not for the ingenuity and the passion of the staff there, honestly, that place will have been dead completely. Because if I show you, if I air the pictures here on this platform, all of you will wow at it. And at the level of decay of the depreciation of buildings, of the building that they call a clinic, that's been there since the old para state. It was built in the 70s, 80s. So those things are on the decline quite well. Government is
Yes.
supposed to employ more people because there are more challenges in the field now. But incidentally, the greatest challenge to your survival and my survival and the survival of those that have not finished their school is quackery.
Yes.
Implementation of the law, you have on ground costs you a lot of money, honestly. And government is not willing to spend money, like we all know these days. So it still boils down to us going back to stakeholders, rubbing minds with them that you have to protect your jobs because your livelihood, because there are bad people, for example, in cattle slaughter, coming in with stolen cattle, coming in with other diseased animals, spoil your business for you. So we check them for us and we help them. And in so doing, they are creating job opportunities for us too. So it's a long story, really. And in terms of employment, government and employment, it's not only in the vet sector, even in the human sector. Recently, I think largest government came on the air that they're going to employ more medical doctors. And I don't know whether you followed the last regime, the last government. The labor minister, who happens to be a medical doctor, came out in the public space and said they no longer need, Nigeria has enough medical doctors. Just because they had a labor issue, doctors were on strike.
Yes.
That was what he
Yes.
said. Was Ingigeko? Chris Ingige.
Yes.
He was one that mentioned that he said he's a medical doctor. He has always been in private practice. He was a governor. Well, he came out to voice out and tell the whole world that Nigeria does not need medical doctors. We have more than enough.
Medical.
And the ratio of doctors in Nigeria is 1 to 100,000. So the thing is pervasive everywhere, honestly. So I think we need God's intervention in this particular aspect.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sani Bello.
Oh, thank you very
From the comment section, a lot of
much.
people are very impressed and have found this session to be very educative. Thank you, our participants. I hope I
Thank
believe
you.
I hope you continue to aspire to acquire what you desire.
My
Next
God's grace.
Saturday, there will be another Aspire section. I hope you will also be in attendance. Thank you very much.
I will link up by God's. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye bye.
It's ODJ. Share you like us your chicken they die anyhow. Share you like us your fish they die anyhow. You don't tire to the fumigate to pick up. You don't tire to the lose money oh. Yeah. With farm a lot. No worry my brother you go get a lot. Oh, it's farm a lot. All the sickness for your farm go end at last. Oh, God relax. Farm a lot don't come we go help you out. Oh, madam relax. Farm a lot don't come we go bail you out. You want your farming to progress. Everything go they make sense with. Go give you training we go help you with. If you want your farming to progress, farming go they make sense when you join. Your livestock no go die. My brother make you join.
This message is brought to you by Farm Alert, providing health care for livestock owners and their livestock.